Welcome back. Here we are after a much long wait, forever wait for Wind and Truth. Felt like way more than 4 years waiting for this book. I think it's because I feel like I've read a ton since Rhythm of War came out, and then we reread the Stormlight Archive. Now here we are, Wind and Truth, finally in hand, and got the exciting copies too. Where we were lucky enough to get into Dragonsteel and got the signed and I didn't know it was gonna be numbered, but we got the numbered editions too.
Yeah, so we're super prestigious.
Yeah, we're living the
high life.
what the heck do they call it? The privileged life.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into Wind and Truth. So I want to hear the story about you. You got a little bit of something spoiled for you.
Yeah, I was so pissed. So I was on Dragonsteel's website, and I was reading one of their blogs. I don't even remember which one it was. And there were some comments on the blog, and the blog itself didn't have anything to do about Wind and Truth. I think it was just talking about like Dragonsteel or maybe something else that Brandon was doing. But the very first comment on the blog, that for some reason I never read comments, but for some reason this time I did. I tried to read the comment, and the very first one, all it was like, yeah, I love the part in Wind and Truth when Maya calls Adolin a slut. And I was like, oh, actually, I shouldn't say the F word. I was like, the heck? I was so mad. And I was just like, out of nowhere, just to have a little thing. I know it wasn't like a major story. It didn't tell me anything about a story. But it's just like one of those little things that's the equivalent of like when Pattern yells at Adolin and Shallan, no mating. Or like the stick being like, I am a stick. It's like, those are like funny moments, but when you know they're coming, they're not funny. Yeah. And so when I got to that moment, I was just kind of like, oh yeah, that would have been funny if that a-hole hadn't just spoiled it just right there.
And I definitely, I can see your point, because when I read that part, I was like, I laughed out loud and stuff. I was like, she might just call Adolin a slut, or asked if he was a slut. Like, what the heck? That was out of the blue. It was hilarious. And like, having that moment spoiled for you, that would be annoying. Because you're right, it wasn't like you know that it's not going to ruin the plot, but it's still like, I missed a little piece, like the part of the experience of this book.
It just made me so mad. It's like that stupid person, like, trying to think when I'm going to look at what freaking blog it was, because it wasn't like I was reading something about Wind and Truth where I should have been like wary.
You were innocent. And like, remind me of this. You've had this happen like several times now or something like that, right? Like, you just read something that almost has nothing to do with whatever you're looking forward to, and something gets spoiled for you. I don't remember what the last thing was, but
dang comments.
That does really suck.
Dang it, now I can't find it. Oh yeah, so it was this one. So the title of the article is "The Eye of the Storm: Brandon Sanderson's Dragonsteel Nexus Reveals Unpacked," and it was literally talking about like things that happen. Like one of the main focuses is how at Dragonsteel they revealed they're doing leather-bound copies of the Wheel of Time. They were talking about next year's Dragonsteel dates. They're talking about just kind of stuff that's going on. They're talking about how he's going to Celsius. And like that's the whole thing.
But then like some jerk.
And that's the comment I read right there.
And there's only like 3 comments too.
Yeah. So I was just like glanced down. I was like, oh, what are these comments? And then the first one is a spoiler for Wind and Truth.
Oh my gosh!
What the heck? What's that guy's name? I'm gonna call him out. What's his name?
I don't think it's not his real name, but
freaking Wayne Metal Blessed. Screw you.
Honestly.
Stupid.
And I think people might think we're crazy because we're like, no spoilers, nothing. We don't want to know anything.
Well,
like
spoilers ruin it.
Yeah, but like that's what I was gonna say is like I think you and I have experienced over our years with everything where it's like movies, books, TV shows, or anything like that. When people talk about it, even just something little like this, it takes away a little bit of the experience, and it makes it a little less exciting, and then it ruins it. It literally ruins it.
This one was like a deeper spoiler too, because it was a spoil of just a one little line. But Rhythm of War ended with Maya barely being able to talk, barely even being able to say anything. And so now I learned that she calls him a slut, which means there's dialogue, which means there's interaction, which means her entire growth arc up to that point was just completely ruined for me. Yeah. And so like when we got to the point where she was talking and like interacting with Adolin, it wasn't like, oh wow. I was just like, yeah, I knew this was coming, and this was stupid.
Okay. Yep. See, and that's the
And
exact
so
reaction
even though
I
it was
had.
just a little simple, tiny thing, it ruined an entire
Like
arc, an
revelation.
entire thing happening. So, Wayne Metal Blessed, I hope you burn and rot in hell. No, I'm just kidding. I am mad, but I hope you don't burn and rot in
Let's
hell.
just
But
hope that something major gets spoiled for him and win
just
truth or
a
something.
request out there. Just stop
probably
putting
was stupid.
spoilers in stuff.
Yeah, he probably was stupid and was just like, "Oh, it was really funny." I thought it was like a slap, but like he didn't think about it at all and had no idea that his stupid little comment was gonna give away a deeper part of the book. I still hate him though. That would make me so mad.
Yeah, so I was just like, So, anyways, I've like completely abandoned the Dragonsteel website because I was like kind of having fun reading the articles, and I was like, nope, I don't know what these are going to contain anymore, and so I just completely left Dragonsteel's website and never went back until just now.
When you finish this book, you'll feel better about going
Yeah.
back. But ever since you told me about your experience, I avoid everything. If someone's like, "Oh, I went to Barnes Noble, pick Wind and Truth," skip. Oh, I was reading Wind and Truth, skip. And if I see the picture of skip, I don't even give him a chance because I don't want to. It's insane. I think there's this whole like thing with when with like creators and just a lot of people is like they want to read the book as quick as they can.
And then
Because they want to get exactly, they want to be the first to talk about it. They want to be the first to have their video up to get the most views and blah blah blah. So, but it's
I don't know.
it makes our lives harder.
I hate reading books like that. I hate reading a book, even when I'm really looking forward to it. Yes, I read it fast, but not like. I'm not trying to like speed read it. I feel like I don't know if I'm just an idiot and these people are just geniuses that can read fast, or if they're like speed reading for some reason,
Or something of a combination of that. I don't know. But like I couldn't be like the people. We saw a bunch of people on the second day of Dragonsteel who were already like hundreds of pages in, halfway through or more of Wind and Truth.
Yeah.
And I think you and I had the agreement, like, we wanted to not read it yet because we wanted to enjoy the rest of Dragonsteel and focus on that instead of, like, sitting there and reading it. But, I mean, if that's how people want to do it, good for them, but keep it to yourself till the rest of us had a chance to read it. There's also something else interesting with us that we were talking about. We're super excited about this book being out finally, but we're also sad because this is the last book of this arc. I don't know if it's an arc or an era, but I think it's just an arc until Stormlight 6. But Stormlight 6 is so far away, so it's like we don't want to burn through this and then just be like, oh well, now I got to wait 8 years or more for the next book to come out. So we're taking things easy. That's how it is. How we like to do it. For me personally,
I just like to enjoy the story and like I like getting immersed and
makes it so much nicer.
I feel like I have endurance more than I have reading very quickly. Like I could easily sit down for like 4 or 5 hours and just read, but I won't finish a book in that time. And I think it's because I like go back and I read things, I reread things, and I like pause. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just not a fast reader generally, but
I don't feel like I'm a fast reader. But you know what's interesting is I do feel like I read faster than the books are read. Like if you listen to the audiobooks. If you listen to the audiobooks at regular speed and follow on the book, then I constantly like read several sentences.
That's true.
Quicker than I'm like, oh, I gotta.
That's different though because they're like really talking slowly and enunciating and making sure that they're really clear.
Yeah, it is different.
Because I have noticed that where like the Audible chapter will be like 45 minutes and I'll finish a chapter in like 15.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, it's funny how that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, we're going to take things slow. And thus far, we're a
little bit into day 4, but we're just going to talk about up to the end of day 3.
Yeah, days 1, 2, and 3, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if this is...
Yeah, a quick mention, too, for those of you who maybe haven't picked it up. Brandon usually does like part 1, part 2, part 3 with interludes.
I think there's 5 parts in all the Stormlight books, except for Wind and Truth.
But yeah, in Wind and Truth, his parts are days, because we know at this point that there's 10 days until they have to have a champion battle with Odium. And so they're just literally day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and then there's interludes in between each one.
And we talked about this before we got Wind and Truth, but you and I are not convinced yet. And even like 400 pages in, I'm still not convinced. I'm not sure one way or the other, but I'm not convinced that this is going to end like a perfect Disney movie for these guys yet. Like I'm not sure yet if Odium is the one who's going to win this contest, or if Dalinar and everyone's going to be able to pull something out of their backside in order to. Because right now, Taravangian/Odian just seems so confident that he knows how to defeat Dalinar and how to conquer all of Roshar.
Yeah, and he did find a loophole in the agreement between Dalinar and Reyes, because apparently it's really complicated when you're making a deal with the deity, which makes sense. But basically, his agreement is, in 10 days we're gonna have Battle of Champions. We're gonna the idea behind his agreement was we're going to halt the fighting, or we're at the end of 10 days. We're all just going to kind of stop fighting, and whatever land we have, that's the land we have, and then that's it. And then Dalinar's agreement, that was Dalinar's agreement with Odium, and so that's the part that Taravangian has to obey. But the agreement with Reyes was that Reyes would obey the spirit of the agreement, which is, we're going to kind of maybe not have like a big huge offensive. But Taravangian didn't make that deal, and so when he took over, he realized the Alethi law says that if you control the capital of a nation, that nation is yours.
Yeah, not just the capital.
And so he's made this massive offensive on Azimir, Narak, and the Shattered Plains, and Thaylen City, knowing that if he controls those 3 capitals, he controls those 3 nations, which would give him all of Roshar, essentially. Yeah, except for little tiny pieces that he wouldn't have, but he would have all. He would have all the major players. They would be his, and that's like, so if he captures those capitals, that's regardless of the result of the duel of the Battle of Champions, because it's just like, regardless of what happens, we all have to keep the land we have, and then we know Dalinar wins.
Yeah, so it could be potential that Dalinar wins, but
the whole
Odium conquered all these places, so they won. But Roshar is like all conquered. Odium's. I wonder, is it against in the agreement? Could they win the duel and then conquer everything back? Or they have to kind of just like, we lost everything. So
I think it's going to be. I think the idea is like, no, this is yours, and I think it's kind of the thought process. Oh, this is Brandon, or if this is Dalinar thinking of this, or if it's just Dalinar desperately trying to stop the tide of the conquering. But I think it's agreed that they won't conquer back, and that will kind of just become singer countries.
That's kind of what I was figuring too.
But it's pretty cool. We're learning a lot about the past, and I think there's going to be an even bigger focus. I really liked. I was kind of curious how this was going to work out. We talked about it before the book came out, wondering, is it going to be like the first 10 days are going to be like just happen all at once in the beginning of the story, and then this is going to be the fallout? But no, the whole book is literally the 10 days.
Yeah.
So 1,300 pages just to cover a 10-day span. But it's been working out really great. Like, even though these are days, like a lot has happened, just in 4 days, like a ton has happened.
Yeah.
And we're getting like all these little drops. And I was talking to a coworker about why this is working, about why like the 10 days kind of works. And
is this the same one you're talking about?
No, it's a different one. I found out that's also a huge Sanderson nerd. And we got talking about Stormlight for.
And this one's read like all of them.
Yeah. So he reread. He did like we did. He reread everything, and now he's exclusively listening to the audiobook for Wind and Truth, though. So we were talking how one of the reasons Brandon can get away with. Well, let me back up a little bit. We talked about how the prior 4 books have all been like, all the characters at this point in the story are like pretty much fully developed. Mm-hmm. We all know pretty much all their background stories. We know like almost everything about all the main characters, where they are, why they're here, where they're going, and
they've all had like huge arcs where they had to overcome some really big hurdle.
Yeah, and that was all tied up in Rhythm of War. Like Shallan's finally accepting her personalities and getting through that. Kaladin was able to make a big step towards overcoming his depression. Adolin was able to accomplish his goal. Dalinar got his deal with Odium. Navani awakened the tower and is now a bondsmith. And I think those were the big 5. I don't know if Yasna really had much going on.
She probably had her own hurdles, but we didn't go through those.
They weren't like huge major ones, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking like we didn't hear. We have no idea what her oaths even are. We haven't heard her say any oaths. We just know she's on the 4th because she's got her armor.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we don't have.
So because we're at that stage where the characters are like almost like complete. I want to say completed characters. Like it could have technically ended at Rhythm of War, as far as like character development.
Yeah.
And so that's really opened it up for Brandon to have this book just be like almost full extra stuff. Like there's no really like extra development. There is a little bit of extra development, but the characters are like moving on and doing good things. And so we get like extra little things. And so that's why it makes it seem like even though it's only been 3 days that we've talked about, it just seems like so much is happening because it's just like picks up immediately after Rhythm of War, and 2, the characters are kind of like resolved and then taking that resolve and then tackling the next challenge. So it works.
So man, these, like as you said, these first 400 pages has been full of stuff, and I think there was one big question that they started asking that they haven't asked before in Rhythm of War, and or in any of the Stormlight, and I don't think we've ever asked it, but like, what happened to Honor's power? Because we kind of see like in Rhythm of War that might have woken this up, and a lot of people were like, Reyes was killed, and then Taravangian took over Odium's mantle. So what happened when Tanavast was killed? Why didn't anyone take up the mantle of Honor?
I think it was assumed because before it mentioned that Honor died, he talked about how Odium shattered the other 2 or 3 shards before getting to Rosh. I don't remember how many it was, and those ones are like completely shattered, done. You can't like re-pick up the power. And so I think everyone was just assuming that the same thing happened with Honor's, but then it came out that no, what's actually happening is Honor's power is around. There's something weird going on with it, yes, and it's refusing another vessel. And so then we get Dalinar's main thing in this story where he wants to try to pick up he wants to become the vessel for Honor.
Yeah. Which I feel like I talked about this. I feel like I talked about maybe like Kaladin or Dalinar would get the mantle of Honor, but I don't remember if that was on or off.
I don't think that was on. I don't think Kaladin's been mentioned because literally
that was just my thought. That was my thought before Wind and Truth came out.
Were they found out in Rhythm of War about? I thought that's what they found out in Wind and Truth about Honor not being.
They did. I was just thinking because when I reread that, Taravangian took over Odium's mantle, I was like, wait a minute, why didn't anyone else get Honor's mantle? So that's when I started thinking, oh, maybe that's going to be a big thing in Wind and Truth, and I don't think I talked about it. It was just in my brain cells.
I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't think Dalinar. I don't know if I don't see Honor's mantle or Honor's power accepting Dalinar, but we'll see. I guess. Yeah. I don't know because there's a lot going on because they have to go to the spiritual realm for 2 reasons. The cultivation talked to Dalinar and basically said you need to figure out what happened when Tanavast was killed, and that will kind of clue you in why no one's got his power. Or you have to go to the spiritual realm, and there's like a lot of things going on in the spiritual realm, which we'll get to. But basically, there's a lot of people in the spiritual realm at that point, almost all looking for the same thing. And so maybe one of them is going to pick it up. Like there's some bad guys in there, and there's some good guys, and there's some other people. Like I think by day 4, we have Dalinar, Navani, Shallan, Renarin, R'Lain, Yatil, and Mraize are all in the spiritual realm at the same time.
And there's one that we're pretty sure.
Oh, and
Gavinor. We haven't seen him yet, actually, but he's a 5 or 6 year old stuck in the spiritual realm.
So that's what I'm saying. And I would not be surprised at all if Gavinor was the one that picked up the.
Oh my gosh! Yep, I can see it. I can see it. Holy crap!
Like this can come out of nowhere because he hasn't mentioned him at all. Like no one knows that. No one except for Lift and Hoyd know that Gavinor even got sucked into the perpendicularity.
Yeah, and like we Gavinor probably he's not only young, but he has no idea what's going on. He's never seen these visions. He doesn't know that he looks like someone from that time. And Navani and Dalinar even had to take him in before they figured out, like, oh, this person right here is Navani, and now she knows that I'm Dalinar.
Well, yeah, and
so they
had to make a conscious effort with their bondsmith powers in order to get into a vision. Without that, you just float in the spiritual realm.
Oh, so maybe he's not like disguised as someone.
My best guess is that Gavinor's just floating around in the spiritual realm and seeing, because when you first got there, they kept seeing flickers of their own past. So I bet that's what's happening to Gavinor right now. He's just kind of floating around in that. And I bet during that time, since that's where the gods are, I bet he's going to be having some interactions with Honor.
Oh, man.
While they're all in visions trying to because Shallan and Shallan, R'Lain, and Renarin, and Eotul and Mraize are all looking for Ba'ato Mishram's cage. And there was also some like speculation amongst the characters that Honor's power would go to Ba'ato Mishram, so there's some worry about that. But I don't see that happening because Ba'ato Mishram hates humans, and Honor, I don't think Honor would.
But are the shards like Spren, like in order to progress as a Radiant, you have to say oaths. You can't just get a Spren and all of a sudden get these powers. Are the shards like that at all, or you gotta have like some?
I think before I started reading Written in Truth, I would have said no, just for this pure reason of Mistborn, because Mistborn, we know when the Well of Ascension filled up again, Vin was able to take the power, and there didn't really seem to be many qualifications other than you had to be there and you had to take it, unless I'm remembering the story incorrectly. And then when she killed Ruin and gave up the power herself, or something happened, I don't remember all the details. I don't know if she killed Ruin, but basically when Ruin and her gave up the power, Sazed was able to just walk up and grab it, and it didn't seem like there was qualifications. You just had to be there and take it.
Yeah.
But Odium and Honor seemed completely different, because Odium wanted someone who was just like had a bunch of passion and emotion, and that's why Taravangian, when he was in that stage, the opposite, because he had that stage where he was like godlike intelligence. Now he was like just pure emotion, like he just felt emotions like crazy. And then Odium was really attracted to that and that accepted him. And now it's saying that Honor, for some reason, isn't accepting him. So now it seems like there are conditions. I don't know if it's the same as like you have to say oaths, or if it's just you have to, because we also know
you have to be at least somewhat compatible.
You have to be like, because they're just pure, whatever that shard is, pure honor, pure cultivation, pure passion. And Hoyd talks about this in Wind and Truth, where he's saying that like over time you just embody that one thing because you don't have the other shards modulating. Actually, it was actually a pretty cool line. He said the reason why Odium's so dangerous because he has the passionate anger of a god without the equivalent compassion and love of a god, and so it just equals pure destruction and hatred.
Yeah,
and that's why he's so dangerous. And so I think the shards will naturally look for someone who most closely aligns with what that shard is.
Yeah. So maybe you're even kind of thinking that if somehow it happened where Taravangian would have found Honor's power before he found Odium's, they probably wouldn't mesh very well.
I don't think they would.
And maybe he wouldn't even be able to take up the Mantle of Honor because
that's
they just
my guess.
have
Or maybe
different...
he would have been able to grab it and it would have been an Infinity Stone situation where he just goes like, and explodes or something. I don't know. I don't know.
If only. I think we get a bit... We get another piece of what's going to happen in this, though I don't think, at least I have no idea what it means, other than maybe it means Kaladin is going to come into contact somehow to Honor's power. But the wind is able to talk now, and it gives some explanation about, and because of the way the Odium's like changing stuff, it's able to talk now.
Because apparently the wind was there before Adonalsium's shattering.
Yeah.
And then something about that and honor and cultivation coming made it so the wind couldn't talk. And then, like you just said, now that Odium changed vessels, something happened that I think they described it as the tones of Roshar have changed.
Yeah.
And so now the wind can talk again.
Yeah, so now the interesting thing is not only can the wind talk, but the wind is talking to Kaladin saying, like, I think it says, we need you, right?
Yeah.
And so we don't know who we is yet, but the wind has only told Kaladin that the wind, whoever we are, needs Kaladin in Shinovar, which is where he and Szeth went, and whatever is going to be happening there is more important than this competition. I don't think that's the right way to say it, but with Odium. So it's like, what in the heck is going to happen there?
If you think of it like in a grand scale, like yes, the Battle of Champions seems like this really big, huge thing, but maybe I'll catch some flack from this, but I don't really think it is. Mainly because of how it's worded. Like, no matter what happens, either way, the war is over and borders are set how they are. The only difference really is, does Odium leave, or does Dalinar become his general to conquer the Cosmere?
Doesn't Odium leave either way?
Yeah.
So win or lose, Odium has to leave for 1,000 years.
But only leave Roshar. But
right.
If he wins, then Dalinar has to become a fused, essentially, and then help conquer the Cosmere. But either way, everyone that's currently alive isn't really going to be around. So it does seem intense, but at the same time, it doesn't seem. I can understand why the win would be like. It's not really that important.
Yeah, it's like it's important and like if you can't stop Odium, but there's something else in the grand scheme of things. Kind of what you're thinking that Kaladin needs to take care of. That is going to be more important.
And then to your point, that maybe because right now, well, I guess we won't talk about it too much because that's in parts in day 4, but I'll talk about it just a brief point. So we have Szeth. So Szeth and Kaladin both go to Shinovar. Kaladin because that's where the wind wants him to go, and Szeth because he wants to cleanse Shinovar.
Yeah, it also started with like Dalinar being like, "I want you to go with Szeth."
Yeah, but that's at the same time that they are there. Navani and Dalinar are in a vision in Shinovar.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dalinar kind of has some foreshadowing moments where he's like, I wonder if there's a way I can contact them, which is obviously like they're going to contact them somehow.
I think that was a very obvious foreshadowing. Like,
especially because there's further foreshadowing at one point because the wind talks to Dalinar and Navani in the vision and it acknowledges that like, hey, I know that you're from the future and I'm in the past and I see how I am in the future and this is crazy. And so
that's insane to me.
And they even meet Hoyd and the vision portion of Hoyd even knows that he's not supposed to be there. Or that he's not real.
What? I missed that part.
Oh, shit. Sorry. I'll stop
talking. Wait a minute. Is that in the future?
You've gotten to the part where Dalinar and Navani are watching the humans come to Roshar?
I've gotten to the part where the wind is saying it's very soon.
Oh.
And then end. You sack of crap! After we went on about how much we hated this whatever dude coming in, you said you made Hoyd. What the hell? You son of a sack! Oops! You're fired from this podcast. Well, at least I'm close. I'm not that far behind.
No, I think you're like in the next few chapters.
Well,
I completely lost my train of thought. But yeah, no. Basically, the setup is I think Brandon's trying to make it as unclear as possible who's going to take up Honor's.
I think that's exactly what it is. But can you imagine? This is what I'm kind of envisioning now. Like with Brandon's views on Mistborn, how he kind of always thought like, oh man, the Dark Lords and stuff just really just get the short end of the stick, and they're always getting beat down. They have like these 12-year-old kids who come out of nowhere and destroy them, even though they're like this power. Like I think one of the specific examples he talks about is Voldemort. Voldemort spent like over 50 years, maybe even like by the time the series ends, it was closer to like 60 years. Like growing his power, he went and traveled the world and got all this knowledge, and he is the most feared wizard, and like no one can take him down. And he does all these things, and suddenly little Harry comes around and just, and then he even comes back, and then 11-year-old Harry, 11 through 18, he continuously thwarts this all-powerful Dark Lord. So anyway, the point I'm making is like Brandon and Mistborn wanted to give the Dark Lords a break, so he made the Lord Ruler is the one who like took over, and for 1,000 years he reigns, and then he's overthrown eventually. So my second point is like with thinking how Brandon kind of thinks on that, like I just wouldn't be surprised at all if they end up losing this contest of champions and Dalinar becomes a fused. Then maybe like further down the road we'll have like Kaladin with Honor's power maybe having to take on Dalinar.
I think that'd be not even a contest.
What do you think? Kaladin would win because he's got Honor's power?
Yeah, I think Honor would easily be able to kill a fused.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Unless Odium directly intervened.
Or maybe it'll be something crazy like freaking Gavinor's going to get the Honor's power, and then Kaladin is going to have to fight Dalinar as Radiant versus Fused. It's going to be insane.
I can see it going so many different ways. I can even see it being something like Szeth gets Honor's power and goes after Taravangian, and then like Taravangian and him destroy each other, and then Dalinar takes Odium, and Navani takes Honor. I don't know. Like it could be like freaking. It could be freaking anything. I could see it being anyway. I could even see it being like if Gavinar takes Honor's power, and he keeps saying like he keeps having scenes where he's like just desperately wants revenge against the people that wronged him.
You know what?
And so also he's gonna have Honor's power, and he's gonna be like. He's gonna try to go kill them, but then like Honor's gonna influence him, and he's gonna be like grow, and it's gonna be like you're gonna be
like. Now I can see it going the other way. Now I can see it going like they find out that Taravangian is the one who kind of killed Reyes, or at least he took over Odium, and maybe Taravangian will die, and Gavinor will get Odium's power.
Yeah,
and then Odium will be like, hey, this kid's my kind of thing. He's young, I can influence him, and he already has like this mind, like, I want to kill everyone who killed my father. Like, he's only 5 years. I've never heard a 5-year-old talk like Gavinor, but he's like so hell bent on revenge.
Yeah. Specifically against, I think, against Vyre, right? Vyre is the one, if Moash is the one he wants to kill.
I want to say yes, because, Moash is the one who killed
I
Elhokar.
can't remember who specifically, if it was like the singers in general, or if it was specifically
I want to
Moash.
say he doesn't. I don't remember him specifically saying Vyre or Moash. He just says like the people who killed my father or something like that.
Plus, Brandon gives Gavinor a freaking sad A line. I was like, "Geez, this poor kid."
What was the
Because he was talking to Lift, and he was like, "Do Grandma and Grandpa want me? Like, do they even want me here?"
Oh,
And then Lift was like, "Holy crap! Like, what do I say?" And then he's like, "Well, because," and then he said, he went on further. He's like, "Because Mom gave me to the Spren to torture me, and then Dad tried to save me, but then he was killed." And now I'm just here, and like Grandpa and Grandma are too busy for me. I was just like, this poor little shit.
yeah, that is true.
That
That is
freaking
true.
sucks. And he's just 5, and then I thought about my 5-year-old, and I was like, this is stupid, Brandon.
This is one thing that I love about his books right now. Is not specifically what you just were saying, but like we have no conclusive like one or this is. It's not going to be A or B. It could literally be between A through Z things that could happen
Yeah.
to finish up this
Yeah,
series.
watch Mraize is going to take Honor's power.
Oh my gosh!
Or Yato.
If
I don't know how
Mraize
much.
got Honor's power, then we're all screwed. But maybe that's different because I think I would hope it things are going to be like what you were saying. Like maybe there is some sort of guidelines, and you got to be compatible with the shard in order to take it up. And like I don't think Mraize has honorable intentions. We all know that for sure. But so maybe he won't be able to take it up. But
Yeah, Mraize is the whole reason they're all stuck in the spirit realm in the first place.
that's another thing that's going to be interesting to see is Hoid went through this whole process of like you need to keep your bodies anchored here so we can get you back, but then Mraize messed up everything.
Collapsed
and then,
the perpendicularity, and it turned into a black hole and sucked them all in.
Yeah. So I think that all the people you listed from Dalinar to Mraize and Yaddle are like they're all stuck in the spiritual realm without an anchor.
Yeah.
Unless I don't think Mraize or Yaddle have some way to get back. I don't see how he would have protected.
We don't know how they were prepared, because we do know that they wanted to get to the spiritual realm. That was their goal. And so they have some plan, and they're prepared somehow with something, but we don't know if it's like complete, because it did seem like it was a desperation move when he collapsed it.
Yeah, because they were kind of getting their butts handed to him when all the Radiants and such attacked.
I know, but then the freaking Windrunners were manipulated easily.
Who is?
The Windrunners
Oh, the Windrunners,
were manipulated so easily.
Yeah.
It's like a common thing. Like, it's so easy to manipulate a Windrunner.
I kind of hate that.
They're the classic, if you kidnap someone and be like, oh, you have to go and save them. So Windrunner's always going to be the one that lets Anakin live.
Yeah.
Or lets the bad guy get away. Which, I in my mind, I don't know, if I was a Windrunner and the bad guy was like, oh, I just kidnapped this little child, and if you don't let me go, they're going to die. My logic would be, that really sucks that child's going to die, but you've literally massacred thousands, and you will continue to do so. So I need to protect people from you by staying here and killing you rather than going and save the child.
Yeah.
It would be hard, but I think that would be the correct protective move to make.
Because it's also on top of that is like, how many more times is he going to do this? Like, he's just going to keep doing his plans, and every time you get close to taking him down, it's like, oh, by the way, I've got these kids or these people. I'm gonna, like,
Yeah.
I've got orders to kill if I don't give this code word or whatever bullcrap. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna off you.
It's
And
like,
then-
you're the greater evil here. If I let you go, then yeah, it sucks that those guards are going to die, and I'm sad about that.
Plus, wasn't it a lie? Did he actually have guards?
No,
I don't
because
think
afterwards,
he
when they went back with Lopin, it's just sick or whatever his name is, was talking about, yeah, after I saved the guards and came back, I saw this. So it seemed like the guards legitimately needed to be saved, but
did. Oh, that reminds me. Like, there's someone impersonating Navani.
yeah, it's Lift.
Oh,
That's my guess.
who?
Because all it says is that Hoid says we need to lie. And then he
Oh,
draws in
that's right.
Stormlight.
Oh, he's a light weaver. Okay, I was trying to think like
Yeah,
who the
and then
heck.
if you remember when they talked about, like, it was kind of weird. Navani was like eating chowder, and I've never seen her eat chowder, and she shrugged, and she was acting like Lift was eating and acting.
Okay, yeah. I just had to have the blinders taken off for that one. They fooled me, that's for sure. Even
Which means that I bet Wit is impersonating Dalinar. I didn't say specifically, but
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm curious to see how that plays out, because no one knows. It's funny because no one knows where anyone else is. It's like so confusing because I don't think Dalinar knows. I don't think Dalinar and Navani know that Shallan is in there.
No.
And no one knows that Shallan and R'lain and Renarin are there in the other world, and no one knows that they're all stuck in the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, well, we don't know where he is, then we're just going to keep going on with life. It's probably like freaking out, and then no one knows that Taravangian is freaking Odium. They finally figured out relatively soon in the book that Reyes is dead and someone else has taken up the mantle, but they don't have an even faintest suspicion that it's Taravangian.
Yeah.
And the only one who does know Taravangian it is, another piece of foreshadowing. Actually, was this the Day 4 interludes where Taravangian goes to the Herald in Kharbranth?
I mean, probably, yeah. Because he said, I don't know which one, he said 2 interludes, so I don't know which one it was.
Well, his first interlude, he goes and talks to El, and then the second interlude, I think, is when he talks to... Because, anyways, there's another layer of complexity. Taravangian reveals himself to this herald that's been working as part of the diagram, and then convinces her to go essentially be a double agent in the good guys. So, there's a lot freaking going on.
Yeah, holy cow.
10 dang days. Oh, another thing, we didn't even mention this. In like the first 3 pages, or 5 pages, we find out that Hoid is 10,000 years old.
Yes,
which
finally.
answers a lot of questions. So we know it's been 10,000 years since the shattering of Aden Alcium. And so we know it takes roughly...
Do you think it was been 10,000 years or just like 9,940 years or whatever? Because was Hoid born 10,000 years ago, or has it been...
The way he mentioned it made me think that it's been 10,000 years since that. Like he's been an immortal for 10,000 years.
Well, I guess when you're thinking of like 10,000 years, what difference is like 40 or 50, 60
yeah,
years?
Like even if it was in his 30s, like
yeah.
10,000.
Oh, this reminds me. I didn't realize this, but I didn't realize that Hoid disguised himself in Stormlight. Like I thought he was his regular white-haired self, but it talked about in this one when he realized that something was wrong, that he was missing like 3 minutes and whatever seconds. That
he like got shorter.
Yasna saw him like turn into his regular self, where he's apparently shorter than what he shows, and he grew his white hair and then stuff like that. So I was kind of surprised.
I wasn't. I didn't remember that he was shorter, but I do remember that he said that he had to hide from Reyes, and that it was.
Oh yeah, I did know that, so that should have made sense.
And he also mentioned, I think it was in one of the chapter headings. He said like, "Oh, your people are looking for me, but they're looking for the description that you gave, which I don't even look anything like that, or something like that. I don't know. There's like little things." But I didn't know that he was short. I don't think he's short. I think he's short compared to an Alethi, which everyone is short compared to an Alethi. So I don't think he's like...
He's not like he's 4 foot.
He's probably like he's probably like an average height, but all the Alethi are like over 6 feet, I swear.
Yeah. I swear I'm going to have to like one day go back and just reread all the chapter headings in all 5 of these books and just read that.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Because it seems like there's always so much in that, and it's kind of hard to piece together when you only get like one bit of a chapter.
So like, a lot of interesting speculation. 10,000 years, because we know that pretty much all the shards have... The vessels have like almost embodied what the shard is rather than controlling it. Because like Ruin and Preservation went crazy, and so they died, and then now it's Harmony. Odium's going crazy. Honor was going crazy. And so we know it takes roughly... I don't even know how long. Like a few thousand years before you start being influenced by the shard and going crazy. But one thought we did have... Or I was wondering if Taravangian's going to have the same goals as Reyes. And overall, yes, he decides that the Cosmere does need to be conquered and ruled by one god, him. Because he's like, all the other shards are crazy and stupid. Like, I need to conquer them. I'm like, freaking Taravangian.
Yeah, right. Well, I was, when I first started reading this book, I was immediately already, like, in for it. And sucked in and hooked, because we again, as like all these books have started out, we get the night Gavilar was assassinated, but from a different point of view, and this time it was Gavilar. And I just thought it was interesting that he was able to talk to the Stormfather, and he was even trying to bond him. And not only that, he was even trying to become a herald. He wanted to take over one of the blades. I thought that was all super interesting. And it seems like as the series go on, it's like, Gavilar isn't as nice or as
yeah, he's kind of a douche.
He almost came off as like this all loving, benevolent king who just wanted to unite and better the world. But as it went on, it just seemed like he was just looking for power and nothing good. So it's nice that he died. I loved how the Stormfather also like told him, Dalinar's got great potential that you don't even see. I was like, dang straight. And then he's the one who ends up bonding the Stormfather.
I know. I think a big reason for that was to set up one line and one kind of interaction between Dalinar and the Stormfather in this book. So the Stormfather says, you were supposed to be different than Gavilar, you're supposed to be better than him. And so I think it's kind of setting up for there's going to be some issues with Dalinar's bond and the Stormfather.
Yeah, it could be. Which I still don't get why he's so touchy about Dalinar wanting to find Honor's power.
I think it's because he's a Spren and he just understands things so linearly.
Yeah.
Linearly, like he's not really good at like...
He just immediately jumps to the conclusion, in my opinion, that like, Dalinar wants Honor's power now, so therefore he's corrupt or something.
Yeah. And the Stormfather also mentioned that he had a plan. He's like, this isn't going according to my plan. Like, this isn't my plan. And then his plan was to help with Honor to get a battle of champions, but then Dalinar's like, it's not working. Like, I'm gonna lose. Like, there's no way I'm not gonna lose. Because then he brought up a great point. He's like, the Odium can bring any champion he wants. And he's like, what if he brings a Thunderclast? Like, what if he brings some off-worlder that I have no idea how to fight? What if he comes himself? How am I supposed to beat a god?
Yeah.
And so Dalinar, he's like, the reason I'm seeking Honor's power is because there's no other way I can beat a god unless I too am a god.
Yeah, I definitely buy it. He seems to have honorable intentions to me.
Oh, but I think there's going to be something more. I don't know what it's going to be, but I don't think Dalinar is going to make the cut. We'll see.
I could see that because it's, again, one of those many things that could happen. Or maybe he will, maybe he won't.
Yeah. Maybe Aelin's going to become...
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
But, speaking of Adolin, I thought this was really cool. Not only do we get all this more interaction between him and Maya, like he can talk to Maya as if she's there with him.
Yeah,
like any other
Radiant. They can speak in their minds. And he can also summon her instantly now. There's a little blurb about that.
He can summon her instantly.
And he's helping with the defense of Azamir.
Yes.
The Aegis Empire. And then he sends Maya to try to get Honor Spren to join the fight. And so
he's going to be without a shard blade
he's fighting
a little bit.
He's fighting without her for a little bit, and then hopefully she's probably going to come like the Rohirrim on Return of the King with a bunch of Honor Spren, which would be pretty cool.
And there was something that their bond is unique.
Yeah, because they're not like, he hasn't said any oaths, but they still have a connection.
But there was something he could do that other Radiants couldn't. Was it just that they could talk in their minds?
Yeah. I think that's what it was.
Okay, because I could have sworn the other Radiants could.
Only for some reason it's, I don't know. Like some of them can, some of them can't. I don't know what the qualifications are. And we also got an interesting little piece here because we've talked a lot about this Sunlit Man. We get a lot of good Sigzil point of views here, and some interesting things because in here his Spren is named. Wait, have you gotten this? Do you know what I'm talking about? Am I getting ahead of myself again?
You might be.
Okay, so
because I don't think I've had any.
You haven't had the Sigzil point.
I haven't gotten to the Sigzil like his own chapter. I've been in chapters where he's said stuff, but.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I'll talk about that next
episode.
Next time, we'll talk about some craziness for Sunlit Man connections. You'll have to see if you.
I mean, we know his friend's name from Son of the Truth, Sunlit Man, right?
Yeah, his friend's name in Sunlit Man is Auxiliary.
Oh yeah, but it's not auxiliary in this.
I don't know. I can't spoil two things in one episode.
Good. We'll just leave it at that. We'll talk about.
You're really close though, because I literally just read it today.
Okay.
As I was like, because I thought you were on like chapter like 50 or 55, so I was trying to catch up to you.
Oh, that's funny. Now you passed me.
Now I'm on chapter 49.
Ruining everything.
So I'm on chapter 49 and you're on 45. So somewhere between then and there, you'll get his point of view, and then maybe Steve.
But I think day 4 is the first.
Just remember that his Spren's name in Sunlit Man is Auxiliary.
Okay.
And then I'm pretty sure it's a guy's Spren.
Yeah, well, I thought it was from Sunlit Man.
I went in Sunlit Man, and I just by glancing around, I couldn't see any And then he said when it came to auxiliary talking. So I don't know. I don't know for sure. I could be wrong about that. But just remember that.
Just remember. I will.
Because when I read it, I was like, son of a Brandon. Like, what is going on? I still feel like it spoiled this a little bit.
Yeah.
Just in ways I don't fully understand yet.
That's funny. Oh, you know what we got in this book, too? That was great. We got confirmation that Kelsier is Thydakar. It actually specifically said it.
Yeah, like 100%.
I was glad to get that, even though we had a bunch of hits, like he was Lord of Scars and such.
And we also kind of learned that there may be some discord between Mraize and Yaltil, because the Shallan infiltrates one of their meetings and she poses as a
somebody,
as a Malwish, and Yaltil comes up and says, "I don't know if Mraize is fully aligned with what Thydakar wants." And we know what Thydakar wants is he is trying to figure out how to not go crazy like the Heralds did, because of being immortal. And I think he's also maybe trying to figure out how to get a body, but I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, and he's only a few hundred years old right now, isn't he?
Yeah, like at least 300. Because we know it's been 300 years since Era 1.
Oh, you know what's interesting? We learned one of Hoid's other names. Did you know that?
Yeah, Sifandrius. I think that's his real name.
I got a different one. Like Mightius?
Oh, Mightius?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was someone like Cultivation or something like that. Someone who knew Hoid referred to him as like Mightius. I don't remember what it was. I should have written the page number down and go.
Wasn't Sifandrius one too? Where am I getting the Sifandrius from?
It's on page 59. I had to write it down. I want to look at it now. Oh, yeah. Someone's talking to Yasna, maybe? Anyway, it refers to, it's like, best speak to Mightius. Your wit about that.
Okay.
A Fantodic.
Maybe that's what he went by when he first got to Roshar.
Yes, maybe.
And some other character development we're actually getting this book comes with Nightblood. I just remembered. Nightblood's starting to develop a little bit more. But I don't know if you've read about that yet. I'm pretty sure you have.
Probably.
Where he starts thinking, he's like, whenever I like wake up, there's dead people all around me. Like, were they good? Like, how do I know if they were good? And he's like trying to, because before, I think even in like Warbreaker, and even when Seth first gets him, whenever he sees someone, he's like, you should use me on them. Like, we should go like kill them. Like, I'm a sword. You should fight with me. Like, he's just so eager to just like go for it. But now he's like actually starting to think like, how do I know if they're good or not?
Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting.
And we also find out that somehow Nightblood's able to talk to Honor Blades.
Oh, yeah.
It was just a little offhanded thing that I was like, say the what the hell? because when they were wrapping it, because the part of Zeth's and Kaladin's quest is they go to all the monasteries that hold. Oh, another cool thing. Jeez Louise, there's so much. is we get what's it called? Flashbacks from Zeth's life.
Oh, yes. He's the one getting flashbacks this time.
And we learn more about him and kind of the Shin. And we learn that the Shin know that the Heralds are that the Desolations are going to come back, and they're holding the Honor Blades for the Heralds and training so they can go back and get them. And part of Zeth's cleansing is he wants to go to all the monasteries and reclaim the Honor Blades, it seems like. And they go to the first one and get Talon's blade, the Stone Ward Tenefast, who was the one that didn't break. And I think I heard somewhere, I think it was at Dragonsteel in the convention, where he never broke. And the only reason he came back is because of the Everstorm. And so it was pointless for him to be there, so he came back. But
good for him, getting tortured for 4,500 plus years.
But we still have a gap. We don't know how the Shin got his Honor Blade and how he ended up with another random shard blade.
Because we've seen him. Is he the one that comes back to like and is talking to Kaladin, or was that someone else?
No, that was Ishar.
That was Ishar.
Talking about when they're in this book.
Yeah, in this book when I think it's when
because
Kaladin
Talon was the one that that at like the end of like Oathbringer or something. Or Words of Radiance.
Wow, that far back.
He was the one that was like was going crazy and just kept repeating back like, I am Talon, Herald of this. You will have forgotten much. We're gonna do this. And he was the one at the very end. I think it was an epilogue of Wit was in Alethkar, and he was sitting by with the guards talking with them, and all of a sudden this guy came with a dragon and a shard blade, and it was Talon.
Oh.
Anyway, so they have his shard blade somehow. It doesn't explain how they got it, but something's going on. The Unmade somehow controlling Shinovar, and they defeat him. And my whole point was, they have his honor blade, because Seth was able to defeat the first boss of his quest, and go into their next boss fight in the next monastery. But anyway, they wrap up. They want to wrap up the honor blade, and Nightblood. There's just like this one little sentence. Nightblood's like, "Oh, I'll talk to it and make it so it dulls its edge," and it does. And I was like, "What the hell?"
Yep, that was so offhand. I missed it. That's for sure.
It was literally Kaladin remembering that Nightblood said that. So it was like just a little like, and I'm like, Brandon, you're trying to sneak this past me. You son.
I'm like,
how can Nightblood talk to this? I'm like, what's going on? How can he talk to a sword that's not even there? And I don't even know. So I'm like, is there a spread associated with it? Because we know there's part of Honor's power, and so I don't know what's going on. Anyways, I was like, what the hell?
Brandon's so sneaky.
I know he thinks he is. He is. He's pulled so many things off of me, over me. But
I
caught that one.
Yeah. I want Brandon to release like a key, a guide through the Cosmere. Like when he dies, he'll release it so that we can be like, oh, this is all the things he probably missed. Like I left this clue here about this thing. I left this clue here about that thing, and something like that.
Totally should do
He
that.
probably wouldn't do that though. He wants everyone to Rappo.
How can we Rappo when you're Deadfo? And one little piece of tension, I'm just kind of mentioning things as I remember them. There's not really like an order of events. Yeah. We find out that because Dalinar is now trapped in the spiritual realm and maybe not be able to come back, if he doesn't come back in time to honor his agreement with Odium, it will be considered the same as breaking the contract, which will 100% free Odium from being bound to Roshar.
Which is insane.
So
that's kind of dumb.
So it adds like another piece of tension to Dalinar and Navani figuring out how to get out of the spiritual realm.
And maybe that's going to happen, because I would imagine that in order for the Cosmere in a whole to progress in Brandon's story, Odium has to get free somehow.
Yeah.
So maybe this is it.
Maybe.
Or maybe Brandon's going to throw another one and he doesn't ever get through. And they still have to figure out how to fight him, and maybe everyone comes to Roshar from like Scadrial.
Sunlit Man makes it seem like there is some sort of conflict between Scadrial and Roshar. We don't know what that is. Maybe it's this. Maybe the Dalinar's fight. I don't know.
Yeah. Only time will tell. I'm curious if you were blindsided by this, because I was. But did you see it coming that Wit and Yasna are like a thing?
I saw hints of it. I wasn't overly surprised.
I was.
Because there's like hints where like the other characters would be like, oh, they're going into Whisper with each other. I wonder if there's more going on there. It's kind of an interesting relationship because neither are very good at it.
Which is actually kind of surprising to me. You would think Wit would be.
Like Yasna's kind of hurt because Wit's such an immortal thing and he will always have secrets from her, and she's kind of hurt by that. But she also kind of just seems like a robot.
Yeah.
Like she likes connecting on like emotional and intellectual levels, and she like mentioned, she's all like, I know during sex, like I just kind of like lay there like a log, and I'm like, yeah, I wonder why that would cause problems. But anyway.
That'd be awkward.
I don't think that's exactly what she does, but she definitely makes it seem like she's not very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And she mentioned that Wit was surprised even after like efforts that he had made, and I'm like, some 10,000-year-old guy can't excite Yasna, then I can see like,
who the heck can
cause some sort of issues.
That was one of those moments when I read through it that if I would have had a drink in my mouth, I would have spit take.
Oh, really?
There. Yes. I'm like, what? They're dating and like sleeping together and crap while they crap. I thought that was interesting. There was one bit that is gotten me really thinking what's going to happen in this spiritual realm. Is the Stormfather was talking to Dalinar before he went in, and like, maybe you will see. And he's like, see what? And he's like, our shame. So I'm kind of thinking like, what have the shards been like hiding?
Yeah, it's definitely hinting that something huge happened with when Honor died, and when Tanavas died, I should say.
Yeah,
like it's something big happened there, something that had ripple effects of everything that created what we have now, and so
yeah, that's gonna be there. There are so many bits and pieces that I feel like there's several major events that we're just like waiting for the conclusion, and I can't wait. There was one last thing I wanted to look at because I want to know if you know the answer to my question.
I do. No, just kidding.
So this is when I think Dalinar's asking Wit, he's like, do you know Wit what happens to a power of God when they die. And then he talks about it's different in each world. He says, on one, it's all around, and we didn't realize it. In another, the God's power was stuffed into a metaphorical closet, packed into Shadesmar, left to rot. Here, if it wasn't splintered after all, then it's in the spiritual realm, talking about honor. And then I think that's... So I was curious if you know which shards he's talking about, because I think
I
the
have
one...
guesses. I think the first one is Preservation, the Mist.
The Mist, yeah, that's what I thought too.
And as well as the ATM for Ruin. And then I think the second one is talking about Cell, which you haven't read Elantris, have you?
No. So, okay.
So Elantris, it's really interesting, actually, because there's two gods there, Dominion and Devotion, that were shattered by Adonalsium, but they like became part of the land somehow.
Wait, they were shadowed by Adonalsium or Odium?
Odium, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Odium. That's funny, I said Adonalsium. But anyway, so then part of it is like, so one, I don't know which one went where, but one of them is how the Elantrians get their power. And whenever it mentions that they use the Aeon door, it kind of mentions, it almost feels like they're opening a door, and they're like, it's like a raging power that they're like letting out. And so that's kind of made me think like, oh, I could see that being like Shadesmar and their power trying to manifest throughout and get there. But that was my guess. I could be wrong, but I think it's Scadrial and Cell he's talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, I knew one of them, but I wanted to know about the others. And I think that about does it.
Yeah.
That's day 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, so maybe next week we'll bring you like 4, 5, and 6 or 7 or something. We'll see.
Yeah. Whatever we happen to read.
Yeah.
I think that what you and I were talking about is like we really want to enjoy this book. We don't want to like burn through it.
Yeah, our goal definitely isn't to just get through it and talk about the story. We were just kind of talking about what we liked, what we thought, and our theories. And
so we're recording this the week before Christmas. Maybe Christmas is going to be crazy, and then we'll read 1 or 2 days. So we'll see what happens. Or maybe I'm kind of wondering if this will happen. I'm kind of thinking that as the days progress in the book, that it's going to get crazier and crazier and crazier, and maybe there's going to be more and more and more to unpack. So maybe we'll only be able to do like a day or two per episode. Something. Well, we're just going to go with the flow.
Just go with it. See what happens.
All righty. We are enjoying this book, to say the least, so far. Yeah. Brandon is throwing us through all the loops. So we hope you guys are enjoying it too. Hope you get to pick up soon, or even just start the Stormlight Archive.
Okay.
That's what we got for you this episode. We'll catch you in the next one.
Catch you on the flippity flip.
I think it's flippity flop.
I don't give It's over.